Parimal, stop touching that table because it is a little wobbly.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Okay, we are live. We are live on Earth as a Witness, and the very handsome Matthew Jordan Smith, and of course, the very handsome Art Wolfe. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good,
Excellent.
guys. What's happening?
You know what's cool today is that we are live not only on Facebook but also YouTube, and YouTube is a first for us. So as you know, as people are joining on Facebook, hopefully people join YouTube as well, just to make sure it's working. But I'm going to get us started once again. Matthew Jordan Smith, welcome to Earth as a Witness. You have been a great friend of both Art and I. Art has known you for forever, and you and I have hung out in LA watching the Oscars. And just to introduce everyone to you, you're a celeb, uh, beauty and fashion photographer, Nikon ambassador. Used to be in LA for a long time, and now you're in Tokyo. And tonight you're going to talk about kind of some celeb photos. And in fact, I'm going to show an example of what we're going to get today. In a second, look at these images. Everyone just look at these images. That's the beautiful Tyra Banks, the very soulful Aretha Franklin, and Vanessa Williams, and so much more. So Matthew, man, we are blessed to have you. We're lucky to have you. And are you ready for this?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I love this business. I love talking about our industry and my point of view in the industry as well. So happy to be here, and thank you guys for having me in a big way. I know it's your evening there on the West Coast, right? And it's my morning here in Tokyo, but I'm feeling good. So thank you for making the time for putting me on here.
That's cool. Art, how long have you known Matthew?
At least a week.
At least a week. That's so long. My God, that's pretty long.
Matthew, I know that we met in many different circles, but the last time we were up in Canada, up at that amazing hotel out of Banff.
Yes.
I think it's a Banff, whatever it is, and we were both brought in to give talks, and I don't know, it's got to be 10 years. 7 years?
Easily 10 years. I remember like that trip to Banff, and that was very cool. And then before that, I remember like doing like a photo walk together. We went up to some mountain. Where were we where we did that? That was eons ago. So I'm taking you way back.
That was a minute ago. One. Hey, the new way of saying it is that was a minute ago. You met a minute back. Yeah, that means like a long time. Yeah. Okay, exactly. With that, my friend, we can't wait. Like Matthew, let's jump right in. Show us some images and the stories behind it.
Oh, cool. I can do that really fast. I'll start sharing my screen and go into showing some of my work there. And I'll start off by just like showing more what I'm known for, the beauty work, and then dive into celebrity work. So can you see my screen right now?
Yes, perfect. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Really? So this is how I started my career, and what I do a lot of. As a matter of fact, I've got a shoot this coming Monday where I'll be doing exactly this same thing, beauty work. It never ever gets old to me. This is how I started my career over 30 years ago doing beauty, and it's what led to everything. The beauty work led to clients asking me to shoot celebrities, and people know me now for shooting celebrities, but this is my beginning. It all began here. My entire career has been like, head and shoulders basically, and I love that. It's opened doors, it's taken me around the world, and I want to show this because people think you got to do everything in photography, and you don't. I think it's really important for photographers to understand that you have your signature. And that is what gets you work. It's great to learn everything, but what gets you work, consistent work, is having something that people can identify you with. And for me, it's kind of the beauty world. Beauty, celebrity, portraiture world has taken me everywhere. And I love this stuff. I absolutely love this stuff. It never, ever gets old to me. So here's like a range, in terms of my career. I shoot black, white, Asian, Hispanic, you name it, I get those assignments. I live in Tokyo now, and of course, work here is, and what I love about the work here is very diverse. Oddly enough, more diverse than in the States at times. but I
Interesting.
love being here, which is kind of funny, right? Hearing that, but that's how the reality is here in Japan,
Yeah.
and I love that about being in this place. So this is my world right
What
here.
part of, yeah, where do you live in Tokyo?
So I'm in Tokyo, and I'm right by Jiugaoka, which is like
Yeah.
if you think about Shibuya, which is like center of Tokyo, that big crossing that everybody knows. I'm like 12 minutes from Shibuya on the train. So in many ways, it feels like New York. I began my career in New York City, and Tokyo feels like New York. I
Hmm.
mean, almost exactly the same lifestyle, but everything's clean.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and continue. I really want to interrupt you, but I don't. But so continue, Matthew. Sorry for the interruption.
No, interruptions are totally cool, man. This is about conversation. So I get to play around, and I've always loved motion.
Yeah.
Always loved motion. It's one thing, people who know me know this, but people who don't really know me probably don't understand how much motion is a big part of my life. And I get to experiment and play. And I think as photographers, we always have to be pushing boundaries, experimenting, doing something new, or even not so much new, but an evolution. So
Hmm.
the last year, I've been doing a lot of motion in this way, playing with motion and color, and falling in love with that. So I'll go in studio sometimes and just play. So this is actually a celebrity's sister here. She lives in the States. She's Japanese, but she comes to Japan every blue moon. She came here, I guess, like 6 months ago, and we came in the studio and we played around, and I got her. Actually, no, it was like a year ago, because a year ago
Hmm.
I went to Austria, and she was leaving the next day after I got back. So I literally came in from Austria, dropped my bags, went to studio, met her there, we shot, and then she went to the airport. So we just had a few hours to get stuff done. I brought this T-shirt back from Austria, threw it on her, and we went to work and started playing around. So when I think
Nice.
about this image, I think about this time last year where I was on vacation. We could all travel around easily, and now it's a little different. But this is that
Hmm.
image
It's
shot
just a little different.
just a little different, just a little
Just a
different.
little different.
So this is actually almost a year. So this is like August last year, my last real vacation
Yeah.
when I'm coming back from that. Um, but I love this stuff.
It's a beautiful image.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, but people know me for this stuff,
Uh,
photographing celebrities. Um, so um, I'll always show this stuff. People understand who these people are, and I think people believe like, oh, if you're shooting celebrities, you know, you are at this other level, which I don't really agree with. I think that people give you celebrity work because they can identify what you're going to give them. That
hmm.
consistency leads to everything. So if you have a consistent look, consistent feel, consistent light, people identify with that because if you get 15 minutes to get an image, you can't make a mistake, and people want to know that. So they look at your work, and they decide in that moment, oh, am I going to get my image or get a great image in 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Can this person do that? And that's very
Yeah.
much the case. And then when you get that kind of work, it leads to a lot of big advertising. Like the images I just
Hmm.
showed now, both these images were shot for editorial. And while there's pressure on that, there's more pressure doing advertising. The advertising, like this is an ad for Farmers Insurance. And this is an actor, Orlando Bloom, who was also a comedian. And I got to tell you, this day was one of those amazing days.
Okay. What
Very often
happened?
with advertising, it's a lot of people on the set. It's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of money being spent, um, and because of that, there's pressure in the room. But Orlando, being the comedian, this is a set, so we had to make this chalkboard. We had to make the whole set. The floor is all made. It's a whole the entire set is made up to feel like you're in a college classroom, and it was fun. But during the breaks, he would just start making jokes, and he would plank on the desk. I mean, we just had these great moments this entire day. Um,
And and you said his name was Orlando Bloom?
I'm sorry, Orlando Jones. Sorry about saying. Thank you for
Okay,
correcting
I
me.
was thinking My, how unfortunate 2 famous people have the same name. Okay.
I know. Thanks for saying that. No. So this is
Art
Orlando
is
Bloom
very
with a
sharp.
deep
Art is
tan.
clearly very sharp.
This is Orlando Bloom for deep tan. No, this is Orlando Jones, the comedian Orlando Jones. And the guy is just, he was so funny. But leading up to this job, there's a lot, with advertising, there's so much involved. There's, meeting after meeting after meeting to make sure you have the right vision, that you have the set. I had to hire a set designer. We had to go and talk about what we wanted. I had, and we did like 4 different versions of this ad. They ran 3, but we shot 4 versions. We started at like 9 in the morning, dressing the set, and you shoot all day long. We probably wrapped around 6 o'clock that evening, and that's the world of advertising. And we shot
And Matthew,
3 ads that day.
Matthew, when you're shooting something like that, do you have a director that says, okay, you've got to have a chalkboard, you've got to have it look just like this, or are you kind of bringing everything to the table?
No, there's definitely like the creative team there. There was the art director, the art buyer. There's probably like 20 clients who were there on this shoot. So it was a big set on this job. And, they have a layout, so you're shooting to the layout. They approve all the props. We had like off to the side of the shoot, we had like 4 different desks. We had like 4 different chairs. We had different globes, different props to put in. So we had to decide which props to use during the set. But there's easily on the side, we have like, this whole living room worth of props and gear and all this stuff. It was a fun shoot. It was actually a really fun shoot for the entire team. The whole creative team, then my assistants, because we had to set up and light this. They wanted to feel a certain way. So there's a lot of lights on this set. On this set, we have like either 5 or 6 lights to make it feel natural, because we're in a studio. So we're making it feel like this in studio. But it was a fun day. And even now, like when I see some of my old assistants, we talk about this day.
Wow.
And that's something you're known for, right? Is lighting. I mean, you're a big master of lighting. Yeah,
I'm known for my light. The light has definitely led to a lot in my career. This is Oprah, which is funny, like, here in Japan, people don't know Oprah. But which is funny, when I first got here, and I'm showing my work for the first time, I'm showing my book of celebrities, trying to get work. And I noticed that people didn't know Oprah, which shocked me at first. But when you think about it, it makes sense because, she's more like Oprah's known for the show, of course, which got her famous. And it's a TV show that's not a movie. And for that reason, people don't know her outside of the States like they do in the States. So I show her work here a little bit, but not the way I show it in the States, because it gets a different reaction here. It's like, oh, who is that? I'm like, huh? Who is that? That's Oprah.
It's like, yeah. Go ahead, Art.
I've shot Oprah forever. I mean, I've shot her. My first shoot was in the 90s. I've shot like 4 times in my career. Each time was for a different cover. And each time is very different. The first time I had her all day long. And then the last few times, it's like 15 minutes. So you gotta get the shot really fast. Like this was like, I had 15 minutes on set with her, and that was it. She had to come in, get the shot, and we had to do a cover. We had to do the inside story. So it's a lot they want in that 15 minutes. So you have to be on it in terms of getting your shots. And then from there, things happen. For me, it's always about making the set so comfortable that they want to stay longer. That's what I'm always trying to do. So I have the right music, the right energy, hopefully, the right team around me, so the energy feels great in the studio. So
I was going to ask, I want to interject, because when I photograph people, I've got, and I'm on the fly, I'm doing more documentary and portraits, around the world, but you still have to bring your attitude and disarm them in a very fast way. But working around celebs, I would assume they get it. They totally know that if they're not smiling and ebullient, that it translates poorly on the camera. Or am I wrong? Do you have to kind of engage them to transform them into a beautiful shot like this, or how do you work?
have to engage them because they're people too. So they come to the set with all their stuff, whatever's going on in their life, they bring that to set. And sometimes you see that. If they have a long, stressful day like this day with Oprah, her team was there and they're kind of counting down the time. And they're also trying to talk to her about different things that are happening throughout the day. So this is like an escape for her to get away from all of the stress and business of the day being on set. But as we're shooting, her people on the side like, oh, in 30 minutes you gotta be here, da 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 da. And I want to keep her engaged. So I have my music, and since I've known her for a while, I have my Oprah set of music that I play. And I know if I have that music, I can keep her maybe 5 minutes longer, maybe 10 minutes longer. And this day we had great music, and she was like dancing on set, singing on set. And when the time was over, she didn't want to go. And I love when that happens, when they're like, oh, just
Nice.
2 more minutes, 2 more minutes. That's when you get great shots.
That's
Well,
awesome.
the previous shot of Oprah, if you can go back just 2 clicks, is so radiant. I mean, it's like she either has such a presence of mind to know what her best expression is, or you've engaged her, but that's radiant happiness right there. And
Well, this day
what a
she
great
was radiant. This was a special day because here's a funny story. So my first shoot of her was in '94. And back then there was no old magazine. She's not on the cover every month. It was a very different Oprah back then. And she wasn't as comfortable being in front of a still camera. It's very different than being in front of a still camera versus like, a cinematic camera. It's a very different feeling also for the person who's in front of the still camera. And even though she was great on camera, it still was not as being as comfortable as she is today. But she came to the set and she had just been given these 2 puppies by Stedman, and they were in there in the studio for the first maybe 10 minutes of that day, and then they left. But while they were there, this is back in the '90s, and we're shooting film. So I shot a Polaroid, probably like 4 or 5 Polaroids of her that day with the puppies, and then they left, and that was it. And I think maybe I shot like 2 frames of film. It was just maybe like less than 7 frames of her with the dogs. But I got back to New York from doing this shoot. I was living in New York at the time. I'm looking at these Polaroids. I'm like, wow, this is really beautiful. The Polaroid was just like amazing. So I framed it, put a note in it, and sent it to her at Harpo because I want her to have that picture. Well, over the years, I never heard anything back. I didn't know if she got it or not, because you never hear back from these kind of situations. And I'm shooting her from time to time throughout the years. Never hear about it. She forgets about it. I forget about it. But this day, maybe 20 years has passed by when I shot this picture from the time we first met. And this day, she walked in and she gave me this big hug. And I was kind of shocked by the hug because it was like a really real hug. And she says, a long time ago, you gave me a picture. And that picture has been beside my bed all these years. Wow. It's a picture of me and my puppies. And she said, and this week, one of them passed away. Oh. So that picture means more to me than ever before. And it was my first time hearing that she even got the picture. Wow. So to know that has been beside her all these years, I was like in shock. But it set the stage for the day, and we just bonded, and it was just one of those amazing shoots. So this moment, it's a real moment. This is not like, oh, me smiling for like being happy for the camera because I want a great picture. This is that real moment. And you can feel when it's real versus, your practice smile.
Yeah. What a story, man. What a story.
I have so many stories from all these shoots, but that one
it probably underscores that deep down, I mean, they're just like us. They're just humans,
Absolutely.
Same emotions.
Definitely. We're all the same. Speaking of which, so on the left, this Olay ad, another advertising job. I shoot a lot for Olay. The ad on the left is with Angela Bassett, who's a very, very good friend of mine. Angela Bassett's been in every single movie you can think of. And this day, she had been shooting a movie the night before. and the shoot went late. So our advertising job, we're there on set in the studio at like 8 in the morning for hair and makeup. And doing hair and makeup, I can tell she's tired. And I know Angela very well. Sometimes I go out to her house and I work out with her and her husband. I mean, I know them very, very well. So when she walked in, I could tell she was tired. And in hair and makeup, I go and talk to her for a little bit. I could tell she was tired. And then after hair and makeup, the makeup artist came to me and says, "Oh yeah, she was falling asleep doing hair and makeup." So I'm like, okay. So I have my music for her. I know what she likes as well. So this is another ad. There's like 20 clients around. There's a lot. This is a set. We're in LA, and she tells me she's tired. And I was like, let's just get this image. We can probably get it fast, and then I can let you go. But she was tired, so we're shooting, and everybody can tell she's tired. So I have my list of music that I'm playing, and I'm trying to have it high energy to get her up as well, so we can nail the image. And she looks great in the images, but the energy is just not in her face. And my assistant comes to me and said, "Matthew, can I change the music?" I'm like, no, I know her music. Let me just stay with this music, this playlist. I know she's going to love this eventually. It's going to come around. So we're shooting. My client's saying to me, "Well, you know her. We're not getting the energy from her." So I stop shooting, I'll talk to her again. And she's trying hard, but she's tired. And it shows. So my assistant comes to me again and says, "Matthew, please just let me change the music." At this point, I'm frustrated. I'm like, "You know what? Change the music. Change the music."
Yeah.
And my assistant goes and changes the music and plays a song that had the entire room change. She played this movie from What's Love Got to Do with It, where Angela played Tina Turner. And in that moment, Angela's like, her eyes lit up, and she went back, I guess, to that moment in the movie, and she came alive, and we got the images. It's like the whole room changed because we all like, "Oh my God, that's the music from the song that she played the part of Tina Turner," and we all went back to that moment in our heads. And to be there with that song, shooting Angela Bassett, who played Tina Turner, it was an amazing, amazing moment. Like she reminisced about it. We all did. We're all in our own head. It was an incredible, incredible fun shoot. And from that moment, it was just heaven. We got the job done. Client's happy. I'm happy. Angela's happy. She could leave, go back home, get some rest. And that's how it happened. So,
and did you treat your assistant finally? Did you treat like, "Dude, good job,"
Yes. It's actually there's a woman and
a woman. Sorry. Yeah.
And her name is Deshanti. And Deshanti, if you're listening right now, thank you so much because you saved the day that day. When we talk even right now, we talk about that shoot because it was one of those days where we were doing everything. And Deshanti was coming to me like, "Matthew, please, please let me change the music." And at first I'm like, no. I know her music. This is what she loves. But she saw something that I didn't. And it changed the whole set and the feeling. It came alive, and we had a ball that day. It was incredible. So I love moments like that.
It's also so cool, Matthew, that you have the grace to admit that someone else had to kind of come to the rescue and try, and it saved the day, right? It's amazing.
All about a team. Like together each achieves more. I always say that together each achieves more. The team makes the image come alive. It's not just about me. It's about everybody who's around me. So you got to surround yourself with great people who want you all to succeed. That's how you get great jobs. That's how you keep creating your best work. You gotta get beyond yourself.
On the teamwork, I mean, Matthew, as I was telling you, and Art, like you and I are a good team. Like I do all the photos behind, and you put your name on it. It's it becomes your books. Like that's teamwork, right, Art?
Hey, so Matthew, how many photos are you sharing with us tonight?
15.
So 15 only 15. Show. Okay.
Just 15.
So you're just a few more to go.
I'll keep it
I just wanted to make sure that you can get to them all. So
we are fine.
Great.
This is more of Angela, which is it's fun and her being energetic for different assignments. I've shot her so many times. This is Queen Latifah, who I shoot a lot also, who is also great on set. There are some jobs when you're doing advertising, you can have, the catering, but this day I hired a DJ on set. So we have a
Oh,
DJ spinning, and it was so much fun. It's great to have music there, but to have a live DJ on set changes things. So sometimes I'll put in for different things for the day. And I knew having a DJ on set for, shooting Queen Latifah would take it to another level, and it really, really did. This was like a party. I mean, people are seeing these images and they're seeing like 1 second of an amazing party. That's what
yeah.
it was that day. Like every picture, we
Uh,
had so much fun this day. It was just incredible.
she looks beautiful.
Thank you, thank you. So Tyra, I've shot Tyra my entire career. I could do a book on Tyra alone because I've got thousands of images of her throughout the years. The picture on the left is probably one of my more iconic images that people know me for. We shot this in the '90s, but that image was easily on 50 covers throughout the world.
Wow.
And the one on the right was just us playing around and testing, without having an assignment. We used to do that back in the day. We just, get in studio and play around and shoot. And people don't do that so much today, but back then we were always just like, "Oh, are you free today? Let's shoot." And that's what we used to do all the time.
That's cool.
With Vanessa, same. These are both older pictures of Vanessa from. And I love both of these. The one on the left was for L'Oreal. They used that image. The one on the right was a cover shoot for Essence magazine, and I've known her for a long, long time. Also, she was just here in Tokyo performing at the Blue Note. I guess about maybe 8, 9 months ago. So I went to see her, of course, hung out backstage with her, and we have long stories also of these great times. I shot her everywhere: New York, L.A., at her home. I didn't shoot her while she was here, unfortunately, but hopefully, whenever she comes back here, she's been here a lot. I'll shoot her again sometime soon. The great thing about Tokyo is that everybody comes here to perform. So
Hmm.
when things get back to normal again, hopefully that will happen. Uh,
By the way, I'm back, and I gotta say, Matthew, it's my favorite image, of Vanessa, that the one on the
on the
previous
pink,
one on the left. It's just beautiful.
thank you, thank you, thank you. That's a fun day also. When I see these pictures, I go back to that day that we shot, which is funny. Like I have these memories from every single shoot that I've done. These two, images here. Christian Slater on the left. That was, looking out toward Central Park, and we had taken a break for the shoot, and he actually did this during the break. And I said,
Hmm.
"Oh, stay there, stay there, stay there," and I got this shot of him. Uh, Another picture, older image of Jeff Goldblum, who was beyond funny. I mean, this guy has the whole crew dying laughing, so much so it was hard getting a shot because everybody's like, crying, laughing throughout the shoot. Fun day.
Yeah.
Both these were just great, great days. Sam Jackson, um, shot him for many, many years. The image on the left was my first time shooting him.
Hmm.
Very first time shooting him. Then I've shot him, I said easily, a dozen times. But the first time is always special. And this day he told me, this is like again in the '90s when I did that first picture of him. He said, "Oh, I hate having my picture taken." So I'm
Huh.
like, "Oh man, that's not a way to start a shoot, right? You get stressed from
Yeah.
that, and you're shooting Sam Jackson." And I said, "Well, why do you hate taking pictures? You're in every movie made." He says, "Yeah, but doing a movie, I hit my spot, I say my lines. It's a very different thing altogether. With a still picture, I'm staring right at the camera. For a movie, actor's not staring at the camera. But for a
Hmm.
still, you're staring right at the camera." He says, "It feels very different. I feel like, I'm like naked almost in front of the camera." I said, "Well, forget you're in front of a camera. Let's just, I'll say the name of a movie because I know all your movies. I'll say the name of a movie and you give me uh, that character in the moment." So I'm saying movies, and the whole crew now starts getting on, starts saying different movie lines, and he goes through a different character each and every time. So I say, um, what's the movie now? I'm losing the name of the movie now. I
Pulp
say the name,
Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, and I
Pulp
get
Fiction.
this look. I say
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction, and he gives me this look, and the whole crew is dying laughing. We're shooting this it was just an amazing moment. But that's when everything changed. He stopped thinking about taking a picture, and we connected. And that's how things happen. And then it leads to other things, and you start to get these friendships and on and on. I love those moments. You know, that's what photography is for me. It's about these connections, and that leads to you getting more work. And at least you have these connections where they become friends almost.
Mm.
Speaking of friends,
Oh.
I photographed Aretha Franklin for the last 13 years of her life. So the image on the left is from our last photo shoot.
Oh.
Image on the right is our very first photo shoot.
Mm.
And out of all the people, I had the most stories about Aretha, Riri, because we became very, very close. Close to the point where she called me in the middle of the night to ask, what should I call my album? Should I call it this name or this name? I mean, it was crazy. The first time she called me, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, my time. I was in the States back then, so we're on the same time zone. So she's up in the middle of the night thinking about the name of her CD, and she can't figure it out. So she asked me.
Huh.
So here's the funny thing about photography. When you are shooting somebody, it can be a very intimate connection. They have to trust you with something that's very precious, their image. And if they trust you and you are getting great images, all the time, you build a friendship. And Aretha would never talk to my agent. She always wanted to talk to me. Even when I was in Japan, she wanted to talk to me. So she sent me an email. In the beginning of our career, she sent me a fax. But then she started sending me emails like, oh, call me, call me. And she called me Jordan. She didn't call me Matthew. She said, Matthew, I'm going to call you Jordan. So she always called me Jordan. And I have so many crazy, amazing stories with her. I mean, I love her. On the last photo shoot we did, she's dancing. So I have pictures and video, which I've never shown of the video, of her dancing. Um, she had been sick, of course, and she got over it at one point, and she was strong enough to do a photo shoot. Then, of course, she got sick again. And when she passed away, the last 6 months of her life, we were talking like every month almost about doing a photo shoot. We had scheduled a photo shoot. Then the day before the shoot, we had to cancel it because she was rushed to the hospital. And she was in there for like a month. Then she calls me and says, she sent me a message versus email saying, I'm still in the hospital, but when I get out, I still want to do the shoot. So we talk a lot. We probably talked the most her last 6 months of her life. We never got to do the shoot, which was sad. We never got to do the shoot because she didn't make it. But she wanted to. She'd joke on the phone about, making food for the shoot. She'd make food for the crew. And she'd bring different things that she made. So that was cool. She talked about, a deal she was going to get about, getting her line of food out there, which was in the deals to happen before she passed away. It didn't happen, of course, but that was a deal that was in the works. She was wonderful. I love her and I miss her dearly. We have some great, great memories together. That smile on the left, that's a real Aretha smile, which is why I love that picture so much because that's an authentic Aretha smile. That day we were joking around, playing, she had her phone in her lap and she'd stop every now and then and take a phone call from Clive Davis or send a text message, put the phone down, and then I get a couple of frames off. And it was just a magical, magical day that I'll never, ever forget.
I got to say, go ahead, Art.
It just makes so much sense that the people you photograph becomes your friends, and they, as you said, they entrust in you their image, which is everything. And I know Greg Gorman, and he would say the same thing. You develop a really close friendship with the people that you've been around, and you photograph them year after year, and they probably only want to be photographed by you. If they really are, they would absolutely go your way. They would want you and trust in you. And it just shows in this work.
It's fun. I mean, I love it. I love it. I'll stop sharing now, but I love this business, what it's done, where it's taken me. the freedom, and the ability to, like, almost document my life. When I'm seeing these pictures, it's not just, for me, it's not just a photograph, it's documenting my life through them. And I love that.
And what, I mean, is there a special thing you do with dark-skinned people and illuminating them? Tell us a little bit about how, is it any different, or what do you do?
Absolutely. So, in photography, we learn how to make a quote unquote normal exposure. And it's funny because I'm doing a shoot this Monday, um, and it's for a segment that I'm going to be doing about how to photograph people of color, or how to figure out what's a normal exposure. So you learn about you know making a normal quote unquote normal exposure in photography. If you go back and think about the root of that, what defined a normal exposure, that wasn't based on people of color. So you have to learn what constitutes normal, and then you dial in what I consider normal. Like, a light meter, camera, those devices, they can't tell color, they can't tell shades. It's just a device that tells you information. It's up to you as a photographer to take that information and translate it the way you need. So I am a photographer who uses a light meter all the time. I'll find out that normal exposure, and then I dial in my normal based on that. And that's how I've always come up to be. Like, here we are in photography, and I get this question all the time from people like, oh, well, how do I photograph people who are dark skinned? How do I do that? And some people think that, oh, something's wrong with my camera because I shot this picture and that person doesn't look so well, or they look, like this cover right now of Vogue that's out. People are talking about that Vogue cover that Anne Leibovitz did. And there's a lot of discussion about it because some people think it doesn't make the subject this month look so good, Simone Biles. They think that it's not a flattering picture. And I agree with that. But that's taking a normal picture, a quote unquote normal picture, and not compensating for that subject. And that's probably one of the reasons. Now, I love Annie's work, and I've loved what she's done with many people, regardless of their race, color, period. But that cover, I've done easily hundreds of covers in my career. I know what happens with editors and those meetings that go into a cover and the importance of a cover. So it's hard for me to see things being a mistake. And that picture was not treated the same way that others are. There's this whole energy that goes into making a cover. There are many conversations. There's research. There's all this that goes into making a cover. To the point of going beyond what the average person thinks. What needs to happen in photography is for photographers to be open and just think about things more than just thinking about the gear or what the gear says, what the camera says. A camera can't think, a meter can't think. It's up to photographers to do that. Right now, we are in this place where there's Black Lives Matter, and which is an important thing, not just in photography but around the world. One of the reasons why I moved to Japan, this is 4 years ago, was because I felt safer being here than in my own country. I didn't face the discrimination here that I faced in my own country. You just seen my work. I've done a lot of jobs, but there's always been a glass ceiling about how far I could do or how much I could do. The ad of Orlando Jones, that's an ad for Farmers Insurance. But they have two different celebrities that they used for those campaigns. One is a Caucasian actor, and he's the one you see all the time. The one of Orlando Jones, people barely saw that one. They used it for maybe a month or two, and then that was it. And that means, as a photographer, you get a little small slice of the pie in terms of work. But here, living here in Japan, there is not that same discrimination. I can shoot an ad and shoot it for anybody, and it'd be used anywhere and everywhere without thinking about my color. Um, I hope that things change that way in America, where it opens the door for all of us, regardless of race, um, to be treated equally.
Yeah.
I know I went on a little tangent there, but that's
No, it's
No, we want tangents. We want to hear
want-
what you're thinking, and it's very important, of course. When I think of Japan, it's fairly homogeneous outside of Tokyo, and
yes.
so it
Well,
comes.
Tokyo too.
Yeah, and so it's but I've always known that athletes of color are highly regarded, and so I've never had that conversation with somebody that's lived there that wasn't Japanese, and so it's very interesting to hear your take and your comfort of living in a Japanese society. But as
Yes.
you said, Tokyo is like New York, and it's cosmopolitan, and the people are highly educated, and I think that they appreciate talent and people. So thank
It's a
you
wonderful
for
thing.
elaborating.
Thank you. No, it's wonderful to see the difference. It's before our lives changed back in March, I came to the States like every month. So last year I flew to the States 11 times. Year before that I came like 10 times. So I spent a lot of my time flying back and forth to the States or to Europe. Um, and I've loved that. But what's funny, coming back and forth as much as I've come, um, it really hits me to see the difference because I get it back and forth so I can have that comparison. And the more and more I've done it, I've said, wow, I feel more comfortable living in Japan than I felt living in the States.
Mm.
Well, I find that really tragic and disheartening, but I think a lot of us have reevaluated the direction of this country over the last 4 years, and hopefully
it
there will
needs
be
that.
change.
And I got
hope
to
so
say,
too.
I got to say, Matthew, man, thanks for opening up and just sharing truly, what you wanted to say. I just wanted to say, when you and I hung out in LA, and obviously Art, Matthew too, this was 4 years back. I remember the Oscars. Like, I didn't see you as black or white, like I'm brown, but I just saw you as a great human being, just a great guy. It's fun to be around. And that's when we talked, when we do this someday, we'd love to have you and your work shown. And even right now, what I saw is obviously not just beautiful images, which they are, but just a beautiful person that you are. Just a beautiful
Thank you.
person.
Thank you. I love this business. I love, being a photographer uh, or a visual artist. I think, the whole world would be better when we have all these different voices sharing their point of view. That's what photography is. You're sharing your
Yeah.
point of view. If you just get one point of view, it's like you're doing the world a disservice because you're missing out on all this great stuff. The beauty of is when you get all these different points of view. So if you have photographers of different races shooting equally, it just gives the world a better perspective of everything because you're sharing your point of view. Like my point of view is going to be different than anybody else's,
Yeah.
because based on, where I was raised, how I was raised, where I've lived, where I've traveled, all those things, they are part of your recipe. And what comes through your lens is your recipe, what you've made, showing your point of view. Like my point of view is being, a black man, born in New York, raised in South Carolina, lived in New York again, lived in Los Angeles, now living in Tokyo. All this experience is what I share in my images.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really good point. I mean, that's exactly the point I also talk about, having traveled the world for 40 years. Though I live in Seattle, I look at myself as a citizen of the planet rather than a Seattleite or a US citizen, because we all, as you say, and I agree, we are a collective of all our experiences. And
Absolutely.
as a photographer, you share those through your lens, and you educate people through the work that you do, and both in image and in words. So
I agree.
great talking with you tonight.
I've really
Matthew,
enjoyed this.
one last question as we end this, and I got a question for you based on what you just spoke about right now. My friend, if you had one wish for humanity, what would that be and why?
That's easy for me. For everybody in the world, not just Americans or people in Japan, but everybody all over the world, to really live by the golden rule. I mean, if you think about that, if you really think about that, which is, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Selfies are the biggest thing right now. If you think about a selfie and you see people making themselves look good, it talks to the nature of how we admire ourselves, how you love yourself. But what if you had that same love for your neighbor and treated your neighbor that same way, or gave them that respect, or that empathy? It changes life totally. One thing I love about living here in Japan is there is this level of respect that happens. Whether it's a facade or not, it happens. Like, people are very conscious of their neighbor. Even, I'm learning Japanese. It's just you learn how to speak a certain way, and it's based on making people feel comfortable. Never saying no. Like, in America, you'll learn to say yes, no. So in learning Japanese, I had this lesson last week, and I'm asking my teacher about no, and she says, well, yes, there is the word for no, but we don't use that. You never want to say no. Like, even in business, people aren't going to tell you no directly because that's rude. They'll go around it. You got to learn how to read that. They'll say, oh, well, maybe let's talk about that next week, or maybe it's not the right time. Can we come back and discuss that another time? It's just all this. They'll go around no. They mean no, but they're going to say it in the most polite way possible so you are not offended. So just thinking about that, treating your neighbor loving your neighbor like you love yourself, not wanting to offend somebody, not wanting to, show your agenda, all these different things. I mean, if you go deeper into that, it just opens the world to be a much better place. And it takes the I out of everything, and it puts it into we. And that would change our world in such a dynamic way, if we all really stopped and cared about our neighbor.
So well said, Matthew. So well said. On that note, Art, any other words, final words from you, Art?
No, Matthew, it's great to hear your voice and see you. And thank you for participating in this dialogue, and a world not too from now.
Thank you, man. It's just great being here and sharing with you guys so much. Thank you so much. Arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you very much. And for everyone joining in, thanks for joining in live. Matthew Jordan Smith, please do check out his work on Instagram and his website. And also don't forget to check out the collection that he has uploaded to Earth is a Witness on Instagram. And thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Pleasure, guys.
All right. Good night.